Here we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Tonight we are on episode 314. It is the continuation of 2 episodes ago when we were talking about survival kits. So tonight, Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures builds a survival kit. And we kind of have some different trains of thought, and we're hoping that by showing you folks what we think should be in a survival kit, or at least my hope anyway, is to iterate 2 weeks ago the points I was trying to make then. And hopefully that transfers across. But for anybody that didn't watch 2 weeks ago, one, I strongly recommend you jump back and take a look at it. We were trying to say that these pre-made kits, which I still have here on my desk, they're a good kit for people that have a little knowledge, because the parts that come in them are generally so cheap that somebody that doesn't know anything about survival, their target audience for these is, Joe Blow throws it in his trunk, breaks down, tries to survive. If you don't have any real back information on these, they might actually leave you in a worse situation than you think, because it gives you false security with some of the stuff that's in there, because the quality's just not there. Like, I bought this kit for $30, 35, I don't know, you'd have to go back 2 weeks ago and figure it out because they're back up in price now. But anyway, the only reason I bought it at 35 is because I knew I didn't want to pay 50, which is its original price. And at 50, I knew I wasn't getting a deal. And at $30, I was still pretty certain that I wasn't getting a deal. But we did review this kit, and if you want to check that out, go for it. Otherwise, we went and found a bunch of stuff. So those of you that are listening only on audio, this is probably going to be one of those episodes you want to jump back on YouTube and watch the video, because this is one of those rare episodes we're going to do that is going to be very video heavy, because we have a lot of stuff that we're going to pull up on the website and hopefully show you folks to get an idea of what we're talking about for, quote unquote decent gear. And by decent gear, that may not necessarily mean the top of the line, but something that's reliable was all we were trying to hit. Like something that you could go out and use. Not necessarily the best, definitely not the worst, but something reliable. And that's kind of what we both went for, wasn't it, Ben?
Yes, very much so. We very much, I just found another thing I wanted to add it to my list. I thought about it last second. But we very much went through the kit, and honestly, I think even if you're experienced, that kit could be dangerous, because a lot of it isn't going to work. Like an unreliable compass, which was one of the examples, is an unreliable compass. No matter what happens, you can't trust it. If you can't trust it, it's useless to you. A lot of the other things were somewhat chintzy in that. Was there nothing in there usable? Absolutely not. There was things that could be used, but you're going out, if you're going to trust your life to this, at least buy stuff that's serviceable, that would last you a period of time of, say, more than a few minutes, more than the initial time it takes to try it. Like, you want something that's going to actually do the job, because in a survival situation, things get worse, not better, right?
No,
at least
100%.
For the first bit. Right? So we, like you said, we both put together some kits. I did glance at yours earlier, and I know you've seen mine. There are similarities, but there are some differences. And I have in my kit options. So I don't know what mine topped out at, like how much. But I can comfortably say we're over $100.
No, for sure. And I guess that's kind of the point, and we were talking about it just a little bit before here, so to bring everybody up to speed, the big point I was trying to make with mine was that I was looking for something as economical as possible that still gives you reliable gear. So I really did struggle with trying to keep it in a budget. And I started off with a $100 budget, wasn't realistic. So I went to a $150 budget, still really wasn't realistic. So I settled on, okay, a $200 budget, and I ended up at $210. And I still think I'm giving the bare minimum I would hand to somebody, like a friend or something that doesn't do outdoorsy stuff like I do. And it's just like, hey, I need a survival kit for my car. What would you give me? This is kind of the minimum I would hand out. And I did include a couple options to make a deluxe package, if you will, which would make it way nicer. But I tried to go for the absolute necessity. And my thought was 72-hour survival. You know what I mean? Because that's what most survival kits roughly are built around, is that whole 72-hour golden hours. Same as like an emergency kit and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I tried to hit for. And man, it was a challenge. Like, I had 2 weeks to do this, and I nickeled and dimed through it for the entire 2 weeks. I literally just finished it last night. And as you and I started talking, I noticed the backpack I used to put it all in is no longer for sale. Like, that's how much I was watching these things to nickel and dime it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at this stuff. There's a few things we can do, and I may offer a couple of suggestions of things. If you really want to save money on this item, this would be a good option, and the reason for it. So, do you want to start with your bag or mine?
Well, what I was trying to pull up here in the background, if you can stall for me long enough, was what we wanted in the list when we were looking for these kits. Because we did you kind of agreed, gave to me what we figured was going to be the minimum that should be in a kit. And you sent it to me and said, hey, does this look right? And I was like, yeah, that makes total sense. So what it was the list of things the kit should include. It's a fire starter, some sort of shelter, a container that's water sealed, which is the one I did not follow through on. I went with a backpack. So I kind of skimped on that. My rebuttal to that would be you could buy like a Tupperware or something like that from anywhere and change it and put in the bag. I just couldn't find one at a decent price. They kept putting the cost up so high. So that's one of the things I sacrificed. Anyway, first aid kit, a repair kit, sewing or other. Eating utensils, knife and tools, saw, light, and signaling item or whistle. Which makes sense. You want to get found in a survival kit, because ideally you're not going out to the wood to stay. This is not camping. This is not luxury. We've said in past episodes, when it comes down to the difference between survival and camping is one is a necessity and one is a hobby. You're surviving because you have to. You're not going out there for a good time. It's not YouTube make-believe. We're not going out there and, pretending this is a survival situation. Yeah. Anyway, so why don't we start... Let's just start at the top of your list and work down. So the first thing we had was a fire starter. And funny enough, we both agreed on the same thing on this.
Yes. So, and this one came in cheap. Like this is probably your cheapest piece of gear you're going to throw in your kit. And we both went with a pack of Bic lighters.
Just give me a sec. I'm throwing the comments out of the window here.
Well, I went with a 5-pack. I assume you did the same. So my 5-pack, I can't remember the exact price. I can pull that up.
Oh, I can remember the exact price. I have everything here. So yeah, the first thing was just some Bic lighters. They're $6. The shipping was a little high on these. So I looked over at Canadian Tire, which is local here, $6.49. Gets you a 5-pack here. So a 5-pack of lighters at $6.49, even adding the tax on, what's that, $6.49, 1.15, divide 5. You're basically getting it for $1.50 a lighter. So we can settle on about $1.50 a lighter.
Yeah. And like we said, for a medium length survival, a Bic lighter will probably outlast it. Like you can get a lot of fires out of a Bic lighter. They're very reliable.
Where'd you go, Ben?
In the worst conditions, you might get it wet and have to dry it off a little bit. But honestly, a very reliable item that I highly recommend. We could have went with a fire steel. We could have went with all kinds of other things. But the reality is,
it's like a Bic. It just works. You know what I mean? There is no guessing. You can hold the lighter down. The flame is going to come out for however long it's pressed, providing there's fluid in it. So I do suggest if this is your survival kit, don't use the lighter for like lighting your smokes. You know what I mean? Leave it as a survival item so it works when you need it to. But yeah, like even with, and I think we've talked about this in past episodes, even if you are cold, wet, or something like that, and you start losing a little dexterous movements in your hand, you can generally still fumble through a lighter being lit.
Yeah.
As where with other things like flint and steel or any of those fancy things, once the dexterity goes, sometimes those things become increasingly more difficult, I think is the best way to put that.
Yeah, for sure. So, honestly, fire starter, we've often said, like, fire can save your life. It offers you safety, protection, comfort. It is a very important thing. It can purify water. You can cook food. It really does add to your safety. So 100% easy solution, $1.50 or less. Go with a Bic lighter or similar. Right? You can spend more. You can buy a good Zippo. You could buy the flame-proof lighters. You can buy a better lighter, but honestly, bang for your buck, hard to beat.
No, 100%. And we might as well go with shelter because we both kind of went very similar on this. And I'm just trying to open both of them up to show how similar they were. And we went with a classic, you know what I mean? We both went with a Mylar kind of space blanket-ish item. These actually went up since yesterday because they were $18 and now they're $19. We did pick the same ones. It's just me. Anyway, next one up is just, we went with the what are they called? They're
Go Time
Gear.
Survival Life Tent.
Yeah, Go Time Gear Life Tent, and these are a little bit more robust Mylar blankets. You know what I mean? It comes in a nice little bag. One side is orange, so it can also be used as a signaling device, and it's going to be high vis for you to see. And it also kind of sets up enough for two people, and I'm trying to open the thing here enough that everybody can see it. It's not big. You're going to be cozy, but I mean, it is big enough. So you could use this in multiple things. If it is that large, you could potentially cut it down, make enough shelter for one person, and like a heat reflector for around your fire to put more heat on you. Or you have options if you have more. You can't make something out of nothing, so having it not needing it is way better, in my opinion.
It's pocket sized, like under $20 for a shelter that can last a few days. Can be used in multiple ways. You can just wrap it right around yourself and not make a shelter. It's an emergency blanket. Like you said, multi-use. Keep the reflector side. You can reflect some of the heat from a fire towards you. You can sort of use that. There's a lot of good things to say about one of these. These are a bit more expensive, but the durability, I think, makes it worth it. You can buy just a Tyvek style or a Mylar style one from the dollar store for $3 to $4 easy. Similar size and shape. So
another reason I picked this one,
I don't
cheaper?
know. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben. Finish your thought.
I just say, could you go cheaper? Yes. Should you spend a few more bucks? I would lean towards it.
I mean, $18 really isn't that much for shelter. You know what I mean? And the reason I picked this one, and I don't know if you went for the same reason, one, it comes with enough cord to make a ridge line so you can make, the old pup tent style shelter. And two, it comes with a whistle. So we actually handled a couple other things we were looking for on our list. It is a 120 decibel whistle. It is a signaling device. Plus the shelter itself is bright and orange. It can be used as a signaling device.
Yeah.
Now something...
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, a solid option. I like it.
Now, something you included, Ben, that I did not on this is you added a little more to that, and I do like the idea you went with here, and that's the poncho. So I'm bringing that up here now. If you want to talk a little bit about that.
So this was as much an addition as an alternative too. I've used a similar poncho the last camping trip I did. It rained 5 days of that big trip, and I absolutely did find it's great. It's still in good shape. I've still used it since. Folds up small. There is grommets on it, so you can make it a shelter, or it can be your rain gear. Honestly, we've often said, if you're wet and cold, you're miserable. And if you have to travel, something that can keep you dry is almost essential. So I lean towards this. I really think in an emergency situation, the ability to keep yourself dry and moving might be more important than dry and still. So it's definitely something you can either add in addition. Between that and the shelter, you have many options, and you can really, really expand your system for that. You can go almost to a Morris Kasansi style super shelter if you have to, between those two easily.
All right. So I threw
Not
that.
The standard.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, his super shelter, I think, is generally like a poly thing with
it's just a piece of clear plastic on the front.
So there's a little bit more to it.
But it would still work, and it would still work well.
You could get essentially the same thing. Yeah.
All right. Where do we go from there? From there,
that was next on the list.
We had container, water sealed. So what did you go for this, Ben? Because I don't actually see much on your list.
One second. So for me, I wanted something that could contain water. So I have a gravity bag. And I actually switched mine out today. I had a more expensive one. So it's $35 right here. That was the waterproof container. Also, if you look down at my pot,
I don't see the water bag you have on here. I still got the gravity system. You had the $40 one. Oh, you pay $35.99. Gotcha.
Yeah, $40. Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. And then below that, there's a stainless steel cup
So this
with
is the
a
one Ben
lid.
was talking about.
So
This
between
is
those, you kind of have.
oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben. I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy.
No, that's kind of it. Like, that water bag really allows you to carry water, and that's what you need, right? You have a filter bag and a drinking bag or whatever, right? Like, yeah. So you can carry water and you can purify it. I think that one actually had a carbon filter in it to get rid of taste and stuff. It has a cleaning kit. You can go for days. It has a backwash system, so it's not the Cellular Mini that I really like, but the price was hard to beat, and it's very much like a Life Straw style. And yeah, I think it's a good option to really set yourself up for an ability to carry water, store water, and drink clean water. And that's my goal with a waterproof container. The other option, like I said, I have the stainless steel cup. You can cook and you can boil water in that. So two options, very similar price ranges between the two of them. Uh, if you can, I would go with both. It gives you the world of best. If you want, you can choose one or the other and end up with a stable system.
All right. Now my side of this, where I went on this, is I'm just pulling it up here. I also had two kind of things. I did a camp pot, and I did a backpack. And like I said, this backpack is no longer, just says out of stock, currently unavailable. But when I added this backpack in, it was on sale for $24.99, and that's probably why it's out of stock. I was literally checking everything daily to see if I could shave cost off this stuff. So I went with a backpack. It's not a great backpack, but it's an okay backpack. It has some basic things on it, the shoulder straps. I believe it came with a basic waist strap. I'm not going to lie, it doesn't look like the top quality, but it's usable quality for a survival kit. I would not use it as my normal camping backpack if I'm going to be using it week after week or going on long hikes or something like that. I feel like it would probably fall apart. But for a survival kit, something that's going to get me out of the woods, keep all my stuff together, allow me to be mobile, I think it would be fine. The fact that it's Molly had nothing to do with my selection. It just happened to be the one that fit the price. The benefit of being Molly is if you wanted to add a couple little kits onto it later, you could. Like if you want to take your first aid kit and put it in a first aid pouch, you could stick it on the outside, whatever you want to do there. And the other thing that I had thrown on there was just a stainless steel pot. So much like what Ben had, this is just a stainless steel fold pot. It's slightly bigger than what Ben's was. I think yours was 750. This is 1.5 liters. But it is a different design. Like Ben's was an actual little camp cup. A lot more, trusted design. It's been used, tested, and true. This is kind of like your typical camping style pot with a flip down handle. Now, the reason I went with something like this was, one, it held a lot of water, so it is a secondary system for backing up to water purification. And the other reason was nesting, to try and save on space. I could put more stuff inside it, nest it inside the bag, if that kind of makes sense. And I guess because we were talking about water purification, with the backpack, ideally with it, I had thrown in a dry bag, and people probably see me, or not a dry bag, a hydration pack. So this is just a cheapy $12 hydration pack. That bag did have a hydration pouch. Plus, I have the water, the filter straws like Ben had there that you can plug in line. Not a big fan of the Life Straw on this one, just because it's a little cumbersome and hard to use in line. It's more for, like dunking in a river and drinking directly from it, which is good. It's going to get you hydrated. Like Ben said earlier, ideally, if money is no option, this is a Sawyer Mini knockoff. It is 2864, same technology, same micron size for its filtration system. I would be inclined, believing that it is the same, this would work just as good. And these are wicked to put in line on a hydration pack. You just cut the tube, jam it in between, make sure that the water flow is in the correct direction. And then you can just drink out of your hydration pack like normal, and it's going to filter it through with that. Once again, that's if cost is no option. if cost is an option and to get this under $210, you can't have the hydration pack and you can't have this little filter. You got to go with the life straw and you're going to be boiling water. So once again, just kind of showing to get good stuff, quote unquote, and I mean good is a relative term, there's a lot of money involved.
What accessories does that come with before you disappear?
Which one?
The Sawyer Mini knockoff.
Basically the same thing that Sawyer Mini comes with. It has the straw, the back flush syringe, and the little baggy thing for water. And you've seen how good that was when the first time we went camping. I pitched that in the woods immediately and got it something else.
So essentially, that works out between your hydration bag and this very similar to my setup.
Yep, so we're along those same lines of thinking. And once again, folks, keep in mind, I can hear some of you saying, oh, this is extravagant. You don't need this. We're looking to build a kit for somebody that can just take it, that has very little knowledge, and can use it. So yeah, you can boil water, but you have to know how to boil water, and boiling water doesn't get rid of any pollutants that are in the water. So we were trying to get something that was pretty easy. All right, moving on. What else we got? We kind of did container water sealed first aid. So I'm going to pull yours up first there, Ben. You had a little bigger first aid kit than I did. It looks like yours may no longer be available either, but I can't remember the cost of that. Do you remember what it was when it...
I don't remember it being super expensive.
I see $31.50 in yellow, so it's on sale for 12% off. That's the one we're going to talk about here tonight. So anyway, your first aid kit.
Yeah, I just looked for a standard first, like a more or less basic first aid kit that was pre-made. I think they're generally relatively good, so it's worth grabbing one of these. I mean, the 0.9 to 0.7, whichever one of the two. It's going to give you a few Band-Aids, a few basic tools. Nothing super extravagant in here, but enough to kind of get you out of the woods. We've built first aid kits here in the past and talked about it. I mean, if you want to get into it, it is worth looking into. Always also consider your own needs and wants. If there's medications you have to have, always good to have a few extra of those in there. And if there's stuff that you use frequently, it's worth having some of those. So maybe a couple of packs of Tums and stuff. These are options. But for the average person, just go make a pre-made one, and you're at least going to have that. So,
all right,
yeah, that's my thought there. I looked for a reasonably priced first aid kit. Is what I did.
And that's pretty much what I did. My first aid kit, not a whole lot different than what yours was. And you probably took a look at it there. Mine is $25.99, and the reason I did grab this one is it did come with a little flashlight. I'm not going to lie. Flashlight is kind of where I skimped on this whole thing, and I know you got better lighting than I do. Once again, my thought process was survival. Ideally, we're going to be staying put at night. This does come with a flashlight. If you had to move around and be on the go, it would function. My backup was I was going to put one of these in. And I got a pack of 3 of these for $5, and it's basically just the ones that I talked about before that I got from Princess Auto. Dunk it in water, and it works for a while. Not super bright. You're not going to see a mile down the road, but it is going to illuminate around you and allow you to travel slowly and cautiously, which is what you should be doing at night anyway. So I am going to agree, skimped a little on the lighting. But once again, that's where I had to cut stuff to make cost decisions. You know what I mean? Which once again just emphasizes why, a survival kit that's $34 or whatever this was is probably thinking the same thing I am and doing a ton of cost cutting. Where are we at? All right, so up next we are talking about first aid kit, repair kits, sewing or other. And I did see you had a sewing kit in here.
I did.
So I will pull that up and you can talk about it, good sir.
One second. I'm just pulling up on mine so I have a reference here.
So you got the Fisker's Traveling Sewing Kit.
Yeah. Yeah, and this was just, pretty basic. I was just looking for something with the bare minimums. Got a little pair of scissors, got some needles, got some thread, got a measuring tape, and it has the threading device, which honestly I think is more important than you'd think. We talked about if you're cold, you're wet, you're shaking, you're probably going to have trouble threading a needle. It's probably half dark. So a little kit like that is just enough you can sew. The other thing as part of my kit, I had duct tape. So I think between the two of those, I can probably fix most pieces of clothing, backpacks, dry bags, tents, whatever I need to get myself out of there. So yeah, right about there. I threw in a roll of this. You don't even have to take the whole roll, folks. You can roll up a length of that, maybe, 10,
Wrap it
20
around your
inches
lighter. That is a
instead
common
of
thing to happen.
But yeah, just a few pieces of duct tape can really help out. And if you have room, take the whole roll. Honestly, it can be useful. Yeah, and between sewing kit and duct tape, I think that helped for what we're dealing. Not like we have air mattresses to inflate or anything like that. So I was content with that.
I much went very the same.
How
I
about
went with
you?
a Singer
What was
traveling kit. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay, yeah, Singer, great name.
Yeah, so same thing. I just looked for a cheap kit that got the basics of what I needed. And it's almost the mirror of the Fisker one, except the Fisker one has significantly better scissors. These are those cheap little dollar store scissors. But it does come, same thing. A couple lengths of string, a couple needles. It does come with the eye threader. So like Ben said, at night, I know me, I can't thread a needle anymore just by eyeballing it. And if I get it, it's barely luck, nothing else. I always use one of these things. And it came in a nice little hard case, much like the Fisker one did. So I once again, folks, nothing too big on the sewing kits. They're just basic sewing kits. Look for something that has a couple different types of thread if you're worried about that. Otherwise, look for something that has a couple different needles, one of those eye threaders, and a nice little piece or a nice little set of scissors if it's not on your multi-tool or something like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You can make them up yourself if you have a sewing kit at home. Just throw some stuff in a pill bottle, and off you go. Instant sewing kit.
Just noticed Red Sand Adventures had. So would you say that filtration system would be better than boiling water? And for me, yes.
Each has their place. Here's the thing with boiling water. Boiling water, there's debate. How long do you let it boil? Some say the second it boils, everything's hit that critical temperature and it's all dead. Other people say rolling boil for 5 minutes. Two, you generally want that water to cool down before you consume it. So depending on how much you boiled and trying to let that cool down and getting it into you, if you're really thirsty, now you're struggling with, I don't want to burn myself, but I got to get some water into me and I'm already hot. Now I'm putting hot liquids into me. I do find the water filter, it's good for quick things, especially the wife straw. You can literally just kneel down, dip it into some moving water, get a drink, and off you go. Now I have run water through a filter, one of these no-name life straws, and then boiled it afterwards to be doubly sure. Probably didn't need to. But they each kind of have their place. If I'm making a pot of tea, for instance, I'm just going to boil the water, let it boil for 5 minutes, throw my tea bag in. You know what I mean? I'm not going to filter it to boil it. But I do like the filter just for ease of use. I don't have to make a fire. I don't have to boil the water or have the container for the water, and I don't have to let it cool down. It's just two sides of the same coin, you know what I mean? They're both very functional. They just have different uses. Does that kind of make sense to you, Ben?
Well, kind of, but I think you hit the points of why it's better. So the filtration system you can use on the go. You don't need a fire. You don't need any real prep time. And most of these now have such a small filtration. Like they filter such small items. There's the Guardia, the I like Sawyer better than Life Straw simply because I think it goes one more decimal place.
I was gonna say it's. I know the Sawyer is smaller microns.
Less microns, more.
Yeah, right. So it's smaller. It filters more.
Either way, but yes, for survival points, I can't always boil water. I don't necessarily have the space. I don't necessarily have the fuel. I don't necessarily have the time. I can almost always filter water easier. Is boiling water still a great option? Absolutely. But to me, it's the secondary one. Or when I'm cooking, I'm going to boil it anyways. But yeah, even then, I tend to pre-filter just because it's easier, safer.
Yeah, 2 microns. Sorry, I didn't mean to go silent there. I was actually trying to find the micron size. Life Straw is 0.2 microns. The Sawyer Mini, I think, is like 0.1 microns, isn't it?
Yeah, something. It's very, very small.
It's
They're
very
both
small. And the
so.
Sawyer Mini
When
claims
I
to do more water.
when I did research on these years ago, the other thing Sawyer Mini is flushable. The slave straws generally aren't.
Yeah.
Um, was that there was nothing in North America and very few places in the world that it can't filter out that's dangerous to you in the ways of bacteria, viruses, and cysts. So it's going to help with that. So now you're down to just, you're getting clean, pure water. Uh, Also, boiling doesn't get rid of chemicals or anything else unless it happens to have like an extremely low boiling point. So all it's doing is killing germs, and you still have those germs, those bacteria in there. They're just dead now.
Dead free radicals.
So filter it out. Better off than taking those risks, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
And
that's
it
a good
is
way.
my opinion.
Sorry, I was just answering Danny here. Danny said camping pack, you have more time and supplies for boiling. So yeah, that's kind of it. When you're camping, I boil water all the time and use it as my go-to method, just so I don't have to back flush my Sawyer Mini, dry it out completely. Because the downside to these things is in cold weather, you got to keep them warm. Because if the water gets in there and freezes, it's going to burst these all to hell, and then they're going to be useless.
Yeah.
So there's just a couple backside or downsides. Like I said, it's just tip for tap. One thing's better, not better, just different.
Yeah. But yeah, for a survival kit, I really think a filter is a great way to go. Okay, so we did
Fighting
the
utensils, or eating utensils in this case, and you had a good set here, which was nice fold-out ones with a set of chopsticks, $6.
yeah, can't beat that.
No, that's a nice set. That's better than what I found, to be honest with you.
Actually, I can beat that.
Oh yeah.
And what you can do is go to Dairy Queen or Burger King and get their cheap plastic utensils, and that's the cheapest, lightest you're going to get. The problem is they're not going to be as durable. If you want something durable and lasting, this is a set that I could recommend.
I actually am debating picking this set up just to see what the quality's like. You know what? Because I now that we're on this boat, I am kind of building my own survival kit, and I'm going to throw it in the truck to replace literally one of these foolish things that I have under the seat that I know aren't that great. Because I'm always like, I carry enough stuff, one of these will fill the holes. Really, this isn't going to fill nothing other than the woods when I throw it.
Tim's litter. Once you get in the woods, it forms the new litter.
So eating utensils, Ben had me beat on that one. I had this 4-pack. It was $16.50. Came with the knife, fork, and spoon. You divide that down into four, $16. It's like 4.25 each or something like that. Cost-wise, doesn't matter. The big thing that you're looking at, that Ben and I both agreed on, full individual utensils, if you can do it, are very nice. Because if you got to share the same handle for your spoon, your fork, and your knife, yes, you can do it. It gets annoying. If you have just full utensils, there's nothing like taking the fork and the knife, cutting something and eating it. Then holding it with your fingers, putting the knife head on, cutting it, switching to the fork head, jamming it in your mouth. You know you're not going to do that. So you're either cutting it and fingering it into your mouth, and if it's at night, you run the risk of cutting yourself, or you're just going to jam the fork in it and run around and eat it caveman style, which is still perfectly valid. Just niceties.
Definitely done it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, there's lots of options. If you want to go even cheaper, just go to Value Village and buy any set of silverware. And if you're worried about weight, you can always drill out the handle, remove some of the metal. You can skeletize it if you want. But that's work. You can buy them dirt cheap. So, yeah.
All right, so we're down to knife and tools, and this is where we started varying a little bit. Something we both use, though, is the multi-tool. So I'm going to let you talk about the multi-tool simply because you had it first. I'm not going to lie.
So, was it the Byberry, titanium?
Yeah,
whatever?
This is the Byberry multi-tool pliers, titanium 21-in-1 multi-purpose pocket knife pliers kit. And we do have experience with this brand name, first and foremost.
I do have, I think, this set, or a very similar set to this one. It's good. It's solid. Would I say it's better than a Gerber or Leatherman? Probably not. There's a couple little things about it I didn't like over time. But honestly, there was a lot of serviceable things in this. It's not a bad set. It gives you a full set of tools, a good, decent set of pliers, and some repairability to it. So honestly, I give this a pretty good rating. And you're not getting a Gerber or Leatherman that's similar to this for anything under $120. It's just not happening unless you're at like a thrift store or you managed to steal one from somebody or whatever. And by steal, I mean just a buddy who has too many, he's willing to give one up.
Acquire.
Acquire, or if you happen to live near an airport when they're doing the sharp auction and you can go buy some of their stuff. These are the cheap ways to get knives, by the way, if you're interested. But yeah, this is a set. This is a set I would put in a survival kit and say it's definitely good enough. But if you can eventually upgrade, just it's definitely something you can do. I have several sets of similar to this, including one almost identical to this. So that would be something I would just throw in. I wouldn't have to even buy it again.
So, much like Ben, I went for this because I do know the brand name. I have one as well, same one that Ben's talking about. It's the next step up from this. And like I said, quality bang for buck, it's there. It's not as high end, like Ben said, as the Leatherman or Gerber, so the steel's not quite as good. The edge retention's not quite as good, but it is okay. It's good for the money. The pliers themselves, I always hear, why do you need pliers in the woods? Ever pick up a hot lid? Number one reason.
You got to pull something that's stuck somewhere tight. You need a really solid grip. You're working on equipment. Pliers are almost essential. Even fixing your gear or sometimes pulling ropes through tangles and stuff. Like, yes, there's always a need for that, or way more often than you'd think. And I've bought cheap multi-tools. These aren't the cheap ones. Like, the cheap ones are absolute crap. They're useless. They're a waste of money, and they're probably going to end up hurting you. This is the cheapest set I would buy.
The ones that came in here are a perfect example of that.
This set is okay. It's acceptable and maybe a bit more for me. Yep. The tool choice they've gone is decent. They literally stole their tool ideas from Leatherman and Gerber, and it can actually take, I believe that piece that is shown there, it can take saw blades. So from your jigsaw, your teeth.
Not this one. That's the one we got. This one comes with a saw blade built in.
Okay. What's that sticking out the side there then?
Sticking out the side.
Right under the knife blade.
Right under the knife blade. I think you got... so this is what I got on the one that's pulled up. It has... It's got a knife, ruler, rope cutter, saw blade.
It's a socket set. Yeah.
Yeah, the socket thing there. It has a nice awl with a hole in it, which is nice. Can opener. And everybody's like, well, why do you need an awl with a hole in it? And this is one of the things Ben and I say. The number one way to tell if the multi-tool is decent, check to see if the awl has a hole in it. Because without the hole in it, you can't do any kind of weather repair with it.
Yeah. And cloth repair. You can do cloth repair with these. There's a lot you can do with that tool.
Heavy canvas, cloth, you can use it. But you use it for sewing, folks, is what the hole is for. Yes, you can still make a hole with the awl, but you can make a hole with a bunch of other things, too. The awl, for me, is getting into, like, the heavier repair. I use it for repairing webbing, leather, canvas, clothes in a pinch. It just works.
Yeah. So I recommend this or similar. Like, Byberry makes a few good ones. There's another one that starts with R, Roxion or something like that. They make a decent one too. There are some decent, what I would call second tier knife or multi-tools that you can go with. Don't go with the third or fourth tier. It's just not worth it, honestly. The kings for most people are going to be more your Gerber, your Leathermans. There's a couple other brands probably that are up there, and then this here, the solid clones, definitely something else to consider. Yeah.
All right, so rolling down tools, you got a couple here we got to talk about, Ben, because knives are kind of in this too. So the first one that we have up is the Mora Companion. So this is this is the Spark and Steel Light My Fire version.
I had two Moras in there, a Companion and a Light My Steel Companion. So one just happens to have a ferro rod in it, and basically what I was thinking is, either way, a Mora knife is about as cheap a solid bushcraft knife as you can get. So if you want to spend the extra $18 to get a ferro rod in it, sure. We already have the Bic lighters. It's not necessary. That's up to you. If you have the extra budget, sure, go for it. But I'll say this again and again. Bang for your buck. Hard to beat a Mora knife. I still carry mine religiously in the woods. I have 2 or 3 types. I like them. I carry them. I can buy bigger, better knives. Honestly, I haven't found a knife I want that much more that I'm willing to spend that kind of money. I do have folders I carry all the time, don't get me wrong. But that is my companion in the woods is my companion or my Gerbulge. Gerball. They're more expensive bushcraft knife.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called either.
But
I'm not gonna lie. I skimped here. I just said the knife that was with the multi-tool is gonna have to be what goes in it once again in the thought of cost effectiveness. So once again, folks, to drive that point home, are you seeing how the $34 kit probably is really undercutting a lot of the costs now? I'm cutting off a fixed blade knife and allowing it only in the multi-tool to cut down on costs. And we've already discussed that their multi-tool probably isn't worth having. Oh, just smacked my mouth.
That is definitely an option, and it's a good point, Robert. It is not a necessity. This was an option. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably go with the multi-tool myself, simply because it gives me the other tools. I think the Mora has the better blade. But you have 3 cutting blades on that other one. You have the saw, the
There's a saw, rope cutter, and the
straight blade and straight blade. So
yeah, no, but there's something to say about a fixed blade. Like a good fixed blade, you can do more with. It's better for more delicate work. Yes, you can get away with just the multi-tool, and in a pinch, like I did with mine, yeah, you can get away with it. But if you got the option of a fixed blade as well, you're gonna enjoy it more for your day-to-day tasks.
I can baton a bit more and not worry about it as much. I can do some more aggressive things with it. I can also, yeah. So I had a couple other tools there. I think we should go through each of these. None have to be, but I thought I had some really good options in there.
Name them out and I'll pull them up.
The folding saw, a knockoff of the Agua Cannon.
Got it. It's up. Go for it.
Okay. So Agua Cannon is one of my absolute favorite bucksaw knives. This one here is like I said, it's a knockoff of it. $40. I think there's a coupon under right now.
Yeah, save 5%.
Save 5%. And this one comes with a case. I'm trying to remember the length of that particular one is kind of hard to see on the screen, but
12 inches is what it's calling it.
12 inches. So small enough that you can fit it in most small bags. Is it the be-all and end-all of saws? Absolutely not. I haven't tested this one here, but it is such a copy of a well-known and respected blade that I have that I would consider this worth the risk rather than spending $120 on the more expensive one. If you're trying to save money, this is an option for sure. Yeah.
Actually, looks pretty nice. That might be on the old purchase list later.
Very similar setup as the Agua Cannon. I'm fairly confident that its performance would be very similar, and you can switch the blades out if you're absolutely unhappy with the blades on those. You can switch them out with another 12-inch blade. Just find someone selling a 12-inch chop saw blade, or not just
bucksaw blade.
Bucksaw blade. Now the other thing I had was the Gerber axe, I believe, was in there, and then there was the Built Tough saw. So
Built Tough and Gerber. So I got the Built Tough up first.
Sure. So this one, there's no price on here. I looked it up at Lowe's. I think it's $25, $30.
$24.98.
Yeah. Oh yes, because I sent you the link, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yeah. I got you, man.
So it's on Amazon too, but they're not available right now. This comes with a series of blades, so you have some options. And I have this knife, or this saw. It folds up. It's small. It's compact. It is bang for your buck, hard to beat. It really is. I mean, you can cut steel with it. You can cut wood with it. You can cut plaster with it. You can cut anything you need. And you have, if you break a blade, they're relatively cheap and easy to replace. So you can keep this for a while. And it just takes your standard reciprocating blades.
I was going to say, does this take recip blades? Because this looks like the recip blades I use in my
it is. Saw. And that's what I like about this one. This is a cheap option, and like I said, I have this saw. I have played with it. I do like it. So I don't know where mine is, but I do have it somewhere.
Fair enough. And how about that Gerber axe?
The Gerber axe. Now, this was just another option I wanted to throw out there. Any one of these would be a decent cutting device. I love an axe. You know I love an axe. If there's an option to take an axe, I generally have it. Gerber I've had for years. That and for Fisker, they're basically the same axe. they you can hate them, you really can, but they last. They're durable. They come with a decent warranty, and that saw inside the handle just makes it twice as good. So I think bang for your buck again. Value. There is good value in this. This is if you want to upgrade to a different system, you can go with this one. I know you have an axe too, and we could talk about that one too.
Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to my tools.
Yeah.
I only have a couple.
Okay. But yeah, I really like this system. I don't have this particular system, but I do have the Fisker axe, very similar to that, and I carry it a lot. And the handle's hollow and big enough that I can throw a couple of Bic lighters in there. It fits in there almost perfectly. You can fit some line in there. You can make your own survival kit with just an axe similar to that. So, yeah, I highly recommend that as an option. If you're building your own kit, choose any of these, and you'll probably be pretty thankful.
Couple other things you got there. You had some 550 paracord, and I know you picked this one for a reason, so I got it up if you want to talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, so this is the survival cord. So this comes with some options. I think there's some fishing line in there for starting tinder. Does this one have the wire?
No. Let's see. Fishing line, cotton thread, waterproof fire tinder. No, this one does not have the wire. The wire one's hard to find in Canada.
Yeah. So anyways, you got a flammable tinder one. You have the fishing line. I mean, you can use the regular threads for a fishing line, but it's not as good. So I think this is a really good thing. And you know me, I'm not a paracord guy, but for a survival kit to throw together, it'll work. You can definitely use it for a ridge line. The piece of rope comes in handy so often in an emergency situation, and something that breaks down into other usable pieces, I can't say enough about. So if you're in a bad situation and you need help, this is something that's worth it. And they're not even that expensive. What is it, $15?
Yeah, $14.79. Even regular price, it's only $15.79.
Yeah. So for $15, you get what, 50 feet of this thing?
Yes. What's it saying here? Blah blah blah. How long is it? It's probably staring me in the face, and I can't even see it. 550 per cord, 10 strands parachute, 4M1. Blah blah blah. Where's the length? 103 feet.
103 feet. You can't beat that. Like that's, yeah, worth it. That's all I'm going to say. It's worth it. I do have that type of line. I bought a couple of different brands. I like this one because it was orange. Honestly, it's going to be visible, and that's useful in a camp situation, in a survival situation too. So
I think I have the red and black, the camo red and black. I made some paracord bracelets out of it. That's a whole other story I'm not going to get into on here. I'll get into it with you. But I'm not going to get into it on here simply because it's from my past job, and I didn't talk much about that job. Anyway,
so what else we got?
Let's see. What else do we got here? So, we can kind of throw some of the stuff in now. You had a little butane stove worth talking about here.
So this I threw in just as a sort of a last thing. These are dirt cheap, in my opinion. And they're perfect for quickly boiling up some water, making a cup of tea, sterilizing something if you need to. It's a good little thing. The fuel canisters for these are pretty available. So throw that in a $5-10 canister, and you're good for quite a while. You got your Bic lighter to light it. I have this. I use it. Is it perfect? No. Is it great? Yes.
I have one myself. It's similar to this, little different design, has the self-igniter on it. After some reworking, the self-igniter works pretty decent. They're not bad. And like you said, the fuel is not that expensive for them. Just trying to see if you have anything else in here that's worth...
That particular brand of BRS is well-known. It's super light. I mean, it takes up little... I had the headlights...
Yeah, that's coming to the last one. That's light and signaling device.
And I think I had a dry bag in there.
I'm going to jump over to my tools if that's cool, just while we stay on that topic. I did have an axe. I did have a little saw. And I'm pretty sure that's basically all I had for tools. So it's only going to be a quick chat. So for me, I literally just had one of these Colin axes or Coglin axes. It's just cheap. It's a $20 axe. It's just a hatchet. Much like Ben, I prefer to have a hatchet. It's good to make kindling with. You can make wedges out of it and split larger things. It's just, I do find a good use for an axe in conjunction with a saw. If I can only pick one, and we've had a debate on this before, you know what? Depends on the situation. Ideally, I would like both. Some sort of saw, some sort of axe. And you know what? The axe is going to come down to whatever works for you, honestly. And like I said, this is just an example of a cheaper axe, $20. You know what I mean? Not expensive. I don't know the quality off it, but I can guarantee you it'll at least split kindling once for you. And in a survival situation, that one time is going to mean a lot.
The only thing I would say at this particular axe, because I do have experience with it.
Okay.
It's a hollow tubed shaft.
Ooh, I did not know that. I thought it was solid steel.
If you overstrike, it will fold, and you now just have the head, and you can't fix it in the woods. You're not easily strapping a piece of wood to that and having a usable axe. That's my only downside with that one.
So moving on to another one that just happened to be there for $20.52 for 53 cents more. Fiberglass handle, much like what the Fiskars have, or a plastic handle. It's some sort of solid handle anyway. And I'll add that on to the list. You can check it out too, Ben. But once again...
Much better. I like this one way better.
Once again, the point is just some sort of axe would be really good. Oh, hey, this is matched up with the saw head, so that works great. So this is the saw. Just a folding saw, $17. I use something very similar. Ben's seen it. I have a purple little folding saw. It's not the best saw ever, but for the cost of it, it works really well. I can cut up to about 5 inches with not a whole lot of difficulty. This has a 7-inch blade on it, so you can still get through there. And it folds down nice. Now, the downsides to this, there's no replacing the blade. Once it breaks, it's scrap. You know what I mean? The quality probably isn't going to be as good as even that buck saw that Ben put on here, because that had replaceable parts. This is a one and done. Once it dies, it's a boat anchor. But, now, survival.
I have the Silky Pocket Boy. Similar size, similar shape, but you're going to pay a hell of a lot more money for it. But it does have replaceable blades. If you go with something like this, and when you can replace it with a better version, definitely something this is good enough for quite a while. But if you're going to upgrade, there's definitely some good upgrade options from this one. So it's definitely a great starting point, and you can last a long time with it. No real negatives to that one. Just it is something you can upgrade, and you can upgrade well if the time comes.
All right, we're in the home stretch because we're up to an hour here, Ben. So I got your lights and your compass up. Let's talk about the light first.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just look for something that looked decent and okay price. I don't like buying the cheapest one. This one seemed to have a few options. It's USB charger, which I always like. This was a 2-pack, so really when you cut the price down, it was like $13-14. I like that a lot about it. I would definitely carry this. I would definitely use this. I have bigger ones, but it has a lot of the options. It has the red light, it has the white light, it has wide angle, and there's a coupon on it right now. So
yeah, $3 off. So you're getting 2 of them for $24. That's a good price.
$12 for a decent headlight, and if you want to take 2, take 2. But no. You got one for your buddy. Or if you're going to build a kit, sometimes some of this stuff is better to buy in bulk. Get a couple of buddies together and split the cost on some of this stuff.
Let's see. Danny, I just picked up a folding saw like this, but mine has replaceable blades and comes with different blades. Danny, send me information on that, because I am looking to upgrade mine. I just love mine because it works so good. But I want to upgrade to something different, because for all the reasons I just said, I want to upgrade.
Get my Tough Built one.
Your what?
Replace my Tough Built one. It's replaceable blades.
Yeah, and I have something like that similar out in the garage too. I gotta go see if I still got it. Getting back on track. Your compass.
Compass. We bashed the compass on the other one so bad. I looked for something that was around the $25 mark. Honestly, this is an entry point one. Plus, this one came with a whistle. If you have the money and the resources, move up to a Silva or similar style. Like there's a couple of good brands out there. I'm not going to get into the brands, but yeah, if you can upgrade, upgrade. But yeah, $20 comes with a whistle. Um, it's a flip cover. It's not perfect, but it was in the ballpark of where I kind of want it to be. Get yourself a compass you can rely on. Again, it's something you can upgrade. If it's emergency kit, you're probably not using it every day, so it's definitely okay to go with a mid price or a lower price one. Just don't go with the absolute cheapest. There's also $7 compasses on Amazon. I'd be a
Which is
lot
what
more.
I added, but it had the features I looked for. So we're going to talk about it in a second. Did you look at the one I added in?
I did not, but I'll love to talk about it.
All right. So this is one like we had pulled up in the past when we were talking about them here, and I showed you those clear base plate ones. That's what this is. This is just your, and I actually have a real one over here. I know I pulled it out in the past and showed people too.
And this is a really good example of what to look for in one. I really like the clear base plate. If you have a map, it's really useful. It has measurements on it. This one probably has some ability to adjust for declination. This is a really good
You know what?
one.
I have no idea where that base plate one went. I know it's over there somewhere. It's probably just put away in a box. But anyway, yes. The reason I liked this one, and the big thing I looked for, was it had to have oil-filled housing. Because that's going to get away that needle jitter. And the one that came in this, where it was empty and had nothing in it, it gets rid of that needle sag to where it sticks.
Yeah.
So frankly, I would have been fine with a button one that was oil filled, but this one here was really good. It had some measuring on it. It had the clear base plate, came with a little magnifying glass. If you had paired this up with a map, it has the scaling on there for 1 to 50,000. It's not bad for the $8 it was worth. I was genuinely surprised.
It isn't a horrible one. It has a lot of stuff I look for in it. Again, the thing is, how often you're going to use it, and is it reliable? And this probably be fine. Actually, it'd probably be a very good one.
It's going to be better than this. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, again, one of those things that you can easily upgrade in the future if you should choose to. But that is way better than that button one in there. And those are some really good things to look for. Oil-filled. Clear base plate is great. Mine didn't have that. Mine had a mirror, which is good for navigation, but not so good for maps. You kind of looking like ideally you get a clear base with a mirror. You can use the mirror for signaling, and you can also use it for navigation. A nice lanyard so you can hold it out and get a straight line. And between those things, you can end up with a solid navigation device. And I think that's important. In an emergency, you don't know when you'll have to navigate by, and usually at least have some idea of navigation. You'll be like, well, I know I'm north of the city, or I'm west of the city, or I'm west of a road. And even if you don't have the exact bearing, at least you can get close to something. So, I know in BC, generally, if I go west, I'm going to hit ocean eventually.
Eventually.
Where if I go east, I'm going into the wilderness even more, and I could get much, much more lost. But, use your best knowledge for the area you're in.
And that's kind of our time. Like I said, we're up to an hour already,
Yes.
which I kind of figured we were going to be up pretty long because this is a lot to talk about. But once again, folks, main point: even if you bought the cheapest stuff that I had on my list and you skimped everywhere you could, you're still into a basic survival kit for $210, maybe a little more. If you want to add, the good things in there, you're well over $300 for a decent kit. So that's my problem with these $30 to $50 survival kits. I feel like they give a false sense of security simply because the stuff is so ragtag. Like the only thing in this whole kit that was worth, we'd have to go back and look at the video, but there was only a couple things in there that were worth anything, and even those were like dollar store items. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Danny, you're the exception, buddy. You're on an island. Yeah, whichever direction you go, you're hitting the ocean.
But you know which ocean should be which coast should be closer generally, right? Wait, no, you're in PEI. It's all the same.
It's all the same. You can walk across PEI. So, yeah. Anyway, any final thoughts there, Ben?
Yeah, a couple things you can cheap out on and still have a decent thing. If you can't get the tarp, or the shelter, a large garbage bag does really well. And honestly, a $5 tarp from Dollar Store or Canadian Tire is a viable option. So there's an area to save there. You can usually salvage stuff from stuff you already have. Chances are you already have a whistle in your house. Chances are you already have a decent knife. It just may not be meant for that, but you can take a kitchen knife. You can take something else. You can always
Absolutely.
Thrift
shops.
Thrift stores are often a good option for a lot of this stuff. The stove, we said $20, but we've done penny stoves on this show. And a penny stove and some cheap isopropyl alcohol, decent cook set for less than $1, honestly. Like,
I don't think he's with us here tonight, but Steve, the Drifting Spore, he was down at Art at Night there a few nights ago, and he was selling his new BB stoves. So basically, it's a penny stove design, just refined a little bit by him, and he uses a BB to cap off that main hole. So There's lots of stuff out there, and once again, just made out of some cans he had floating around home and some proprietary components inside for the storage and distribution of alcohol, but you don't necessarily need those. You can literally look online. I think we've done penny stoves on here. We might have talked about them or shown. Yeah.
So I whipped one out in like 10 minutes.
Let's see. So just some comments here. Know your gear before you take it into the woods, no matter how much you spend on it. Exactly. Oh, yeah, there we go. Steve is here. He was just hiding. This was a great episode. I'm just curious if you're going to post these items on Facebook page or share the link. You know what? I will take both those lists. They can have a share as view only link, and I will include them in the comments. That way people can take a look at the stuff that we're talking about. Of course, we're not going to open them up for editing because I don't want to jump back on the list and find out that I have a bunch of adult items or something like that now attached to my profile. And it would be Ben that would do it, is the problem. But yeah, well, if you guys want it, we'll post the links up so you can view the items. Absolutely.
He's on to me. Damn it.
Absolutely. I know what's going to happen. You're going to blame it on the other folks, and it's going to be you. You're snickering a lot at home.
I got no shame. You know that.
Absolutely not. Which I'm good with. That's why we're friends.
But yeah, if you have questions, if you have ideas, feel free to throw them out. We will look at them. We will criticize them. We will praise them. And some ideas are good. Some are bad. We both agreed and disagreed with a few items on this one. But yeah, I mean, this is something that if you're going to call it survival, make sure it's worth it. Like if you're going to go in, it's just going to fail right away. Leave it. Leave it at home. It's just garbage. But if it's going to survive for a bit and can do the job, yeah. It doesn't have to be top of the line gear, but it should be, good gear.
Absolutely. Option Mora 511 versus Mora Companion.
Yes. Good idea. Good options.
Yeah, any Mora knife's a good option. Just before we go, Ben, so we don't have to type it out, can you send me the view-only link for your list? Because you added me in as a share, so I can't pull the link. Anyway, folks, that's it for us here tonight. We'll let you go because it has been an hour, and I know everybody is eager to get on to the things that they want to do. So from Ben and I, thanks for joining us. Hopefully this got you thinking. Like you said, if you have any comments, questions, or otherwise, reach out to us. If you have an idea for something you think should be in the survival kit that we didn't hit on, let us know about that too. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Have a good night, folks.